Todd Boehly era begins today. Here we are at Stamford Bridge. Welcome home. Here we go then. We are back inside Stamford Bridge, touching turf for the first time in 135 days. That was the last time it was full capacity, believe me. There is a lot of energy, a lot of stored up brilliance ready for this afternoon. Chelsea fans are back out, the sunshine has joined us, and two rays of sunshine beside me as well. Pat Nevin and Zach Jalab. Boys, I've missed you both. Pat, I'm going to start with you. It's always a pleasure to see you, but you've seen this fixture not just as a pundit, not just as a fan, but as a player as well. How does that feel as a player?
I mean, the first one back at the start of the season, Ian, it's not much different from the away game, right? But you've got all your fans here. And you've got a kind of belief of, right, we've got 90 minutes under our belt. That adds a bit to it as well. It feels like coming home. It feels like, dare I say it, normality again. But the big thing is you add on top of that all the other things. It's Spurs. That's another thing. But also, I mean, I've got to tell everybody here, it is unbelievably hot. It is boiling, utterly boiling. And that's an extraordinary difference. I mean, people don't realise what it takes out of you for 90 minutes. I mean, especially at the start of the season, you'll not really be at 100% match fitness yet. You're still getting there. It doesn't matter what you do. You need 3, 4, 5 games before you're really yourself. This is the second one. They're going to crawl off that park at the end.
And Zach, when you're looking for something, especially first game of the season, we've seen coming into Stamford Bridge, there's new food kiosks outside, there's a renewed energy. The new ownership are obviously doing a lot already. Yeah. One thing they can't do is control what happens in 90 minutes on the pitch. However, fans can play their part. And a home derby against Tottenham Hotspur to start the season, fans are buzzing for this.
I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. First game back, second game of the season, first game back at Stamford Bridge. To be facing Spurs, a strong Spurs side, to be facing Antonio Conte as well, out of all of those people. Yeah, it's a lot of build-up for it. It's a lot of build-up, and I'm sure as well these guys here will be so excited to see the new boys. Kalidou Koulibaly, Cucurella, Raheem Sterling. I think they're walking out just behind us as we say it. They'll be buzzing as they seem to be to see them to be there. But yeah, it's great to be back. It feels like fantastic beginning of the season, and hopefully it's a good one.
Absolutely right. There's quite a lot going on inside Stamford Bridge. As Zach rightly said, the players are now making their way out. Lee Parker's been speaking to Marvin Humes, who's DJing up towards Matthew Harden over there. And over on the gantry, you can just about see you boys. Jason Cundy and Max Jones, over to you.
Yeah, well, look, Pat mentioned about how hot it is pitchside, but I'd just like to remind him that heat does rise, and we are right up in the gods here at Stamford Bridge, so it's going to be quite a sweaty one for the two of us. But when you're looking at the players and you're thinking about who's going to be doing the most amount of running, we're looking at a first start here for Marc Cucurella in a Chelsea shirt. Somebody who caught your eye, Jace.
Indeed. Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, Max. Yes, indeed. I thought he was outstanding when he came off the bench against Everton. I've seen him many, many times, but he really did catch the eye against us in December. I thought he was outstanding. Played in the left-hand side of the three. He doesn't give the ball away. Look at his passing. He zips the ball in. He punches the ball. He tests your touch. And once that ball goes in, like that pass there, splits the midfield. He's always progressive. His first touch is always looking forward, always looking to go forward, and really looking to get Chelsea on that attack down that left-hand side. I thought he was brilliant, and we know how good he is because we've seen him at Brighton. And I will argue with anyone that there weren't many, if anyone, that was better left-back last season consistently in the Premier League. And, you know, people talk about the fee. Have we overpaid? Well, we may well have done. But I have to say, we have got a top-class player. Technically, grew up at Barcelona. You know what you're getting with this kid? He's the real deal.
Absolutely, and I think there's competition, isn't there, at left-back as well? No Marcus Alonso in the squad today. Tuchel spoke about him finalising that move, possibly to Barcelona. But when you've got someone like Ben Chilwell on the bench, strength in depth, that's so important.
Indeed, and Ben's had a tough last 18 months or so with the injury, of course, but he won the Champions League. But I think we need that competition for places. But it gives us options at the back. Cucurella can play the left-hand side of the three, as I just spoke about against Brighton last December. He was excellent. He's probably the best player on the pitch, which might really have been one of the reasons why we were prepared to pay the money that we did. And it would definitely have caught Tuchel, certainly caught my eye as well. So it gives us options at the back and strength in depth.
Well, nothing but praise for the man with the big hair running around today. By the way, that's going to be hot, isn't it? Running out there today, Marc Cucurella. But let's find out who else has impressed from our new recruits this summer.
I think most impressed by Raheem Sterling. I think it was really brilliant. I think it's really what we need. We need the speed on the flanks and.
Well, I think we've got Cucurella. What a player! I saw a few minutes of him last week. Looked good. Hoping to see him again today.
Sterling.
Yeah,
I was impressed last week. I think he did perform well. We were unlucky, but yeah, Koulibaly as well. He's decent. And then when Cucurella came on as well last week, he made an impact, I think, to the game as well. It was decent.
Yeah, Sterling definitely for me. He's been at a big club, so he knows what he's coming straight in. And hopefully he'll fit in and just carry on what he's doing at City.
So far, so good. I think Sterling's still trying to find his way a little bit in the team. Koulibaly, obviously, we haven't seen a lot of him yet, but Cucurella, he had a great opening day. So I hope that he gets the start today and see what we can do.
Sterling, he's a new Hazard, hopefully. Cucurella, I love him. He made a lovely little cameo, and Koulibaly, he just reminds me of Rudiger.
Brilliant, love this. Everyone's feeling energised inside. Even the fans we spoke to outside, who just saw there, fans we spoke to outside, Zach, very impressed with Raheem Sterling's debut last weekend. Very impressed with Raheem Sterling since he's joined the club, in fairness. Yeah. He's an impressive character, very impressive player. How excited are you to see him today?
Over the moon. So excited. He's an elite player. He's a guy in the prime of his career, only 27 years old. Chelsea, I think, have got him from an absolute steal as well. He's ready to fight for trophies. I think he's a brilliant guy that Thomas Tuchel is a huge fan of. And we're going to be seeing him operating in probably a bit of a deeper role than he was at Man City, where he is picking up the ball kind of at the halfway line at times and driving forward, but he has more than the capabilities to be able to do that comfortably. He's a fantastic signing, and a signing that improves the Chelsea squad. You're bringing in someone who's kind of maybe not the finished article just yet, because I think he can improve, but someone who definitely takes Chelsea's to another gear. And also for guys like Christian Pulisic, hudson-odoi, Mason Mount, Havertz, a front line and attack that is still so incredibly young. You're getting in Raheem Sterling, who is an international in England, a veteran, but also has won nearly every trophy there is to win. So yeah, I think he's a fantastic signing for sure.
Pat, talk to me about the impact that he has when he comes into the dressing room. As a player, when you see your club go out and sign one of the best there is, you know, a player that, like Zach said, has won everything at international level, he's a leading light as well. How impressed as a fellow player would you be that he's come into the dressing room?
Well, generally Chelsea's a wee bit different from most clubs because we're full of world-class players. And it's kind of another one. Do you know, it's a good point, and yes, it helps because you know you're just getting really good players in. The best players want to play alongside the best players, full stop, and he's that. So you brought in an elite player, that's fine. If you're Raheem coming out, what you want is people and comfort around you. And look at who he's got. He's got his international teammate, Reece James. He's got Mason Mount. He's got Chile. He's got people around him that he knows. So it's not as if he's coming in and have to kind of feel his way into a dressing room. He's there. And that showed in the first game. I was up at Goodison Park for it. And it showed. This isn't a guy who's feeling his way into the team. This is okay, without being arrogant, I belong here. I live here. I'm comfortable here. And to be fair, like the other new players, he was among the best, if not the best players on the pitch on the day. One of the other things which Chelsea fans are going to look forward to, and this is big, we don't know how good he is yet. Okay. I know that sounds an odd thing to say. We've watched him playing with Liverpool and City. But not unless you watch somebody week in, week out, for 90 minutes, then you find out how special they are. I think we're going to be shocked. He's a better player than even we think he is.
All right, well, I want to pass you on then, Zach, about Timo Werner. Obviously, Timo departed this week. Yeah. Hugely popular player with the fans. Always gave absolutely everything for the football club, and we know how important he was in that Champions League run. Sad to see him go, but already thriving again at Leipzig. You saw he scored yesterday on his debut, which is lovely to see. But when a player like that goes, he penned an open letter to Chelsea fans. It does mean a lot that he gives back what he received, as it were.
Yeah, look, I think Timo's time at Chelsea was a weird one. He's a guy that tried at his utmost best every single game. And I think the fans at home and in the stadium loved that about him. Everyone was cheering him every single step of the way, no matter what happened, whether it was good or bad.
Steady.
Yeah, indeed. My reactions weren't too bad. But yeah, everyone was always supporting him and always going and willing for him to do well. And look, I think throughout his time here, he definitely helped Chelsea progress. He won a Champions League, right? He made the run that opened up the space for Havertz to run into. He scored the crucial goals as well against Real Madrid. He definitely helped us in the second time he played Real Madrid the next year. Timo Werner's time at Chelsea, I think, will mostly be remembered for someone who tried incredibly hard for the club, had a very strong relationship with the fans, and whose personality around the club, I think, put smiles on everyone's face. He's a very colourful and a funny character, for sure.
And Pat, you know what it's like as a player to not only be here and be loved by the fans, but move on as well. Timo, if he ever comes back with Leipzig, will get a brilliant reception. That'll mean a lot as a player, won't it?
Yeah, and you kind of don't know until you actually turn up what it's going to be like. You kind of hope and expect it'll be good. Timo has nothing to worry about. The fans loved him here, just as Zach was saying there. And it's a number of things, but more than anything else, it's work rate. He cared. And there's lots of players that come and they're very, very good players, but see if they don't react and give everything, especially when things aren't going well. Let's be honest, it didn't always go great for Timo. And there were the offside goals that we all know about, but he never stopped. He's back in there again, he never hid. Fans understand that. Fans around here are knowledgeable, and they got that it was a big enough character to keep on doing that. And they knew they loved the club, so he will be welcomed back wonderfully at this club, and he needn't worry. It'll be mildly concerned in case until the day he does, but he'll be fine.
Absolutely right. Zach, I want to talk to you about the Premier League fixtures yesterday. Then obviously, where to start? Let's start.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's start down the river at Brentford, shall we?
For sure.
What a performance from Brentford. It's not a surprise that they played so well. It was a surprise, perhaps, the scoreline that Manchester United finished with, but a 4-0 win for Brentford. Man United look like they've got a lot of work to do, but it also shows that teams aren't ready yet. Teams aren't quite there yet. We've still got weeks to go in the window.
I think it shows what the Premier League is. Anybody can beat anybody, and it really is down to the grit and determination of players. You can sign players for 50, 60, however much money you want. But I think at times when you come up against a squad who are fighting for each other and have a tactical game plan and know what your weaknesses are, willing to press onto you, then that's no matter how much money you're spending, unless it is, say, a Lionel Messi, it's tough to get a player to beat that. I think United found that out. I think Erik ten Hag found that out, and I wouldn't put it past him to probably adapt very quickly. That's the kind of manager I expect him to be. But yeah, look, whether Chelsea will eventually play Manchester United and they'll play Brentford, and we found out last season as well and before what Brentford are like, and they're a tough team to come across. And any team that goes there maybe kind of not giving them the respect they deserve will be found out.
Right, so we found it difficult there last year, were it for Edu Mendy save late on, you know, we had to drop points there, but they are a fantastic side. There's a lot of good teams in London at the moment. West Ham, I think, are still playing. They may have just about finished, but you look across the capital, not just Tottenham, but Arsenal look impressive, Pat. Good win for them yesterday.
It's actually always been the case that because London teams have got more derbies than anyone else, there is that extra problem that you've got. You have to win your derbies, and none of them are generally particularly easy. Brentford, I have to say, they showed me something really special in that game against Manchester United. Intelligence, real nous about how to play football at a high pressure level. And the game moves on quickly. And the speed in which it's moved on for teams like Manchester United, see if you don't play at a high tempo, bye-bye. It's not going to be good enough. It doesn't matter who you are. That's why we need to be a team that has to keep refreshing, staying young, staying lively, staying fit, stay at a tempo. Because see if you don't, Brentford will do that to you. Brighton will do that to you. Not just Manchester City, not just Liverpool, but the others will do that to you too. It tells you that it's real quality. And let's be fair, and we'll whisper this among ourselves, Spurs and Arsenal have looked all right. You know, their strength. And you're going to have a real battle in London this season for who's going to be the top London team. And that's a kind of good thing. And we need to improve, but you need to improve every single year. We're not finished yet. Transfer window hasn't, I'll say it, slammed shut yet. But you know, when that's finished, when everyone's fit, and we're at our strongest again, and our manager's got all his options, and he got the adaptations he can make, like Raheem Sterling you were talking about. Do we know where he's going to play? It might be a 10, it might be an 8, it could be a 9, it could be a withdrawn 9, it could be a wide player. He can be anywhere, and we've got a number of players like that. So we can't make all the decisions, but one decision we can make, it's going to be tough this season. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely right, yeah. Manchester City still set the pace, of course. Still 4-0 winners yesterday against Bournemouth. They're their brilliant best. There's a lot of teams that are doing good stuff. Zach's been doing some good stuff this week, in fact, because he's been chatting to Kai Havertz.
Well, we are going to be talking a little bit about Tottenham Hotspur. Now, when I say Tottenham Hotspur and like Spurs and all that kind of thing, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
For Chelsea, I would say it's definitely a proper derby. You know, it's a London derby, and I know these kind of games, they're always crazy, and for the fans it's a very big thing. For us as well, it's a lot of emotions in there. These are the games where you want to play as a player.
Do you know the history of like Chelsea and Spurs? Obviously, again, you've featured in a few of them. I'm sure the fans have kind of made it quite clear when you've played before.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think there's a big history behind it. A lot of games, a lot of big players played in these kind of games. Crazy games as well. But yeah, you know, I think the first game I played against Tottenham, there were no fans allowed. But then last year was the first time, so you know, you feel the pressure behind it.
How are you feeling about going back to Stamford Bridge? Obviously, it's been a little while now with pre-season, everything that's happened since then. How are you feeling about kind of stepping out there against Tottenham Hotspur, of all people, and seeing the fans again?
Yeah, very happy. I mean, you know, the stadium is so good, the fans are so nice, the atmosphere is good, they're always supporting us, and I think it's going to be good as well. Now it's the first game of the season at Stamford Bridge, then against Spurs on a Sunday afternoon, so I think it's cannot be better. So hopefully we're going to win this game.
Now, have you ever heard of the Battle of the Bridge? This is a game that happened a few years ago between Chelsea and Spurs. It's gone down in history. A lot of people have said it's one of the dirtiest games to have gone down.
Then I
at
remember
Spurs.
it. How many red cards?
Well, you say there should have been a few.
Yeah.
There was none actually on
Really?
the day. There was no red cards. But I think nowadays with VAR, stuff like this probably wouldn't have been happening. You give me a number. How many red cards you think could have happened?
I think I already saw like 2 or 3.
Well, there's one challenge scene with Eric Dyer. That was very, very that one as well.
Yeah. Crazy goal. I think you only see the shot, but before I think he had a good run as well. So a nice goal. Yeah, I think things like this, you know, as you see here with the VAR today, you cannot do it anymore.
How many red cards do you think you would have saw today?
I think if I would be a referee, I would give maybe around 2 or 3. Like, even things like...
Praise game. Tell this to Ricky later on.
Yeah, I would tell him. There you see like these emotions, the emotions, you know, of the players and everything. For the fans, I think it was a good game to
Indeed.
watch. They were loving it.
It stopped Tottenham going on to win the league. In the end, I think Leicester City did. But the fans especially loved it because it meant that Tottenham hadn't won another trophy.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously, in games like that where people are very passionate, as you can see from the fans and also the players, how do you as a player take that?
It's not always easy because a lot of players, they get like too heated at that moment, and then they're doing things that they normally wouldn't do because there's so much emotions behind it. For me, it's of course these kind of games are always special, but I try to stay calm. I think of course in situations like this you cannot stay calm always. It's hard.
Is it a weird feeling when you've got the fans kind of cheering for you? I guess you can't really prepare for that on the training ground, can you? So when you are in Stamford Bridge and the fans are backing you,
it's totally different than, I don't know, if you train on the pitch. Also a thing that people forget when they, I don't know, see the game on the TV because everyone thinks it's so easy to play. But I think for us it's good, you know, on Sunday to play at home. For Spurs, it's going to be a lot more difficult. We have the supporters behind us.
Now, obviously, in a game where it is like a rival, and especially a rival that's going to be chasing for the top 4, how do you get yourself in the mindset for a game like that?
It's not difficult to get in a mindset. I think, you know, the game Chelsea against Tottenham is a big one, and normally you have to know like what is that about. I think before the match, like 2 hours, 3 hours before the match, you feel the tension, and it's not like difficult to get in the right mood for these kind of games.
How do you make sure you don't lose your emotion, as you kind of said? Don't get too in with the crowd that are very passionate, and make sure you keep calm and collected on the pitch.
I don't have these moments a lot of times during a game, but sometimes I have them. And then, you know, it's not only about of playing football, it's about everything in that game. It's about winning the duels, about running, about physicality, and I think that's also what the fans are expecting, you know. So I think we're going to do a good job on Sunday then.
Amazing. Kai, I wish you the best of luck for Sunday. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Very good luck.
It's nice to talk to you.
Yeah, we're not too far away from kick-off in the Premier League's biggest fixture of the season so far. And as you can probably tell, Jason Cundy to my left is a bag of nerves and excitement, probably a mixture of both.
Absolutely, yes, and why not? This is one of the biggest fixtures. You know, there are many games you look at throughout the season, but Spurs home and away, Liverpool home and away, Arsenal, of course, all the big derbies. But right here, right now, this is the biggest game the Premier League has seen so far. There's a lot of noise about Spurs, understandably. I get all of it. They're a very good side with a brilliant manager. We know how good that is. But there just seems to be, for me right now, a little bit of expectation from Spurs that they can really do something, not just do something in the league, but maybe go on and challenge. So we will see today how far they've come.
Well, as you can see on your screens, the players are well into their warm-up now, and it's important to remind you that wherever we go, Trivago is with us. And today, they bring us to Stamford Bridge to follow the warm-up of the Blues for, like we said, the huge clash against Tottenham. As we did last season, as we'll continue to do this season, we're going to get Jason's points. 3 points to secure the 3 points. And the first one, importantly for us, to get our wing-backs on the front foot very early and push theirs back towards their own goal as much as possible.
Well, look, we've both seen the teams, and it's going to be a 3-4-3, almost certainly. And there's going to be a little bit of cat and mouse, I feel, in the early parts of this game. A little bit of feeling one another out. I don't think neither side is going to want to overcommit. There may be a period of this game where the formation cancels one another out. You know, you look at the wing-backs, and the way that both sides really want to play is get the wing-backs high and wide. If you can get away with them, if you can do that and get them in possession, then you force the other team back. It'll be interesting to see how those relationships develop throughout the game. So we've got we've got Ruben on one side, we've got Cucurella on the other. How is that going to play out? What's Ruben's job? What's Cucurella's job? Just wondering about the fact we got Ruben. Not really expecting too much from going forward, overlapping. He was brilliant last season against Southampton. He played in that position, was absolutely superb, and probably his best performance of the season. But what are they going to do on that left-hand side? What are they going to do on that right side? So, yes, the wing-backs are going to be crucial to both teams. You feel whoever can get their wing-backs involved more in the opposition half, they will be the happier of the two sides.
Just want to pull you back there, Jason, because we're assuming, obviously, that Ruben will be playing right wing-back and that it's going to be Reece who tucks in. That makes the most sense, doesn't it, coming up against this Spurs side, how we read it.
That's how I read it.
Yeah.
But the one thing we've learned under Tuchel is that things can be interchangeable. So do not be too surprised if there is an opportunity for Reece to open his legs on the right-hand side, maybe overlap or underlap. Then that job comes down to Ruben. Be a little bit more disciplined defensively, almost be that third centre-half. But that's where you look at the experience of the likes of Silva to say, stay here, make sure we're defensively solid.
Well, speaking of being defensively solid, on to point number 2, and that is being wary of Tottenham in transition. Look, on paper, this is a very fast team who are dangerous on the counter-attack.
Yeah, this is the one thing, if you talk about Spurs right now, this is the one thing you have to be very much aware of. They can break on you at blistering pace. Sessegnon showed that last weekend in the opening game of the season when they were 1-0 down against Southampton. They got pace in abundance, and they're happy to sit and suck you in and almost just to lure you into that false sense of security that you think they're deep. Then all of a sudden, it's the transition. When the ball is transition, when Spurs win possession in their half, that's where we've got to be aware. That's where we've got to drop deep in numbers, and you've got to flood back, because they're going to flood forward. Make no mistake about that. They're an incredibly dangerous side on that counter-attack. They've got real quality. Kulusevski is an underrated player, in my opinion. I think he could be one of those players that really does take the league by storm this year. Wonderful left foot, great understanding of the game. He's got a trick, can drop his shoulder either way, has intelligent passing, but recognises when a team can counter-attack, as a Son, you know what Son and Kane are all about. So, yeah, underestimate that at your peril.
Well, he's already leading the way, isn't he, in terms of assists in the Premier League, in terms of goals scored of his favoured left foot in the Premier League, Kulusevski. So, yeah, certainly a battle for us to look out for on commentary. Finally, we have already mentioned just how warm it is today. It's probably going to go down as the hottest Chelsea fixture on English soil, I imagine, in the club's history, right, or at least certainly up there, which makes these 5 substitutes even more important today, especially against a very fit Kanté side.
OK, there's 2 parts to this. One, absolutely the substitutions will be lent on, right? But the last 15 minutes of a game can be so crucial at any stage of the season. Doesn't matter what the temperature is, but even more so when the temperature is as it is right now. So those last 15 minutes, if you're playing that 90, your legs are going to be, there's going to be some fatigue setting in, a little bit of lactic acid starting to bite. We saw that. Koulibaly against Everton, or one or two players went down, as you'd expect first game of the season. You cannot replicate first team football at any point in pre-season other than train and work as hard as you can. The only way you can do it is by match practice. These 5 subs give a manager real options. So 2 things. 1, making sure that you, if you can, use all 5. Don't necessarily have to, because you may well be in a position where you don't need to. But the latter stage of game, last 10, 15 minutes of the game, maybe the last 5, really think about where the game is going. Potentially, could it slip between our grasp, or could we make a change to maybe to grab the game back into our favour? That's something that we're going through both managers' mind.
While we're on the subject of breaks and being able to, I guess, get a bit more tactical, or a few more tactical changes in there, we've seen this weekend, especially with the implementation of water breaks, right? We saw it a lot, didn't we, when the whole Project Restart was coming back. Seeing it again this weekend. We're expecting to see one midway through the first half, midway through the second half. How important will that be for Tuchel to be able to get those extra instructions? Yeah, and it's important the players take on fluids as well. I went to watch Wimbledon play Doncaster yesterday, and the breaks were used slightly differently. There were 3 in the first half. 1 was an injury, so if there's a long-term injury, a player goes down and needs some attention from the physio, that is then an opportunity for the players to go and take on fluids. Use that. They did yesterday at Plough Lane. Use that opportunity. I don't know how much influence the manager can have at those moments, because they're unofficial, if that sounds right. But it's an opportunity for the players to take on fluid. The ones that you're talking about is the ones that you talk about between each half. They're the ones that the manager can make little tweaks, little changes. We see it often in the extra time, that mini handover where there shouldn't be. If you look at the laws of the game, there should not be a half-time in extra time. But if you watch extra, the manager will have them for a minute and a half. So use that time to turn the game, make a couple of changes, or even make a sub. Let's focus on today's opposition then, Spurs, and where you sense the real weak points are. Where can Chelsea win those battles?
Set pieces for me they're a big side, Spurs, but when you think about the way the game could go, and I expect, knowing Kanté as I do, and as we all do, I expect them to come here and be a very difficult team to break down. 1 goal might win this match. It may well be that game. 1 goal might win this game. Both managers defensively very solid, very astute, tactically very, very aware. And if you look at us as a team, we actually are a little bit lopsided. We don't have a great deal of attacking threats going forward. I think if you're Spurs, you're more worried about conceding probably during a set piece, corner, free kick from deep areas, maybe wide areas, as opposed to open play. That might be an area that they're... So I'm thinking about us. I think if we do get those opportunities, and as and when they come, inevitably they will, can we make them count? And also, as in all games, Max, this football never changes. When chances come, take them. More often than not, when the best sides take the best chances, and if you do, you're going to win most matches.
Well, you and I, Jason, last weekend both worked the opening game of the season. Saw Everton, Chelsea having 16 corners in that game, failing to make the most of any of them. How much work goes in behind the scenes on those set-piece routines to make sure, look, when we do have the opportunity, like you said, make it count?
Well, look, I played against the Wimbledon of old, right? So this is the crazy game. Some teams, their season can hinge on set pieces. So they will spend hours working out the best routines, knowing that they can hold a Man United, a Liverpool, a Chelsea. Wimbledon could go and win a game on a set piece. They've done it in '88 in the cup final, if you remember. Dennis Wise, Robbie Sanchez, header, right?
A few years before my time.
But it's still an FA Cup winning goal. But that's the point I'm making. You can hold a team. So some teams' seasons hinge on how good they are both defensively and offensively on set pieces. So yes, hours should be spent on doing that because it's such a crucial part of the game. I think the stats, and don't quote me on this, I think we're talking goals in most professional football matches are somewhere between 75 to 90% are scored, somewhere between there, from set pieces. They are huge, huge part of the game. So don't underestimate it.
We're just seeing Marc Cucurella being put through his paces in the warm-up in front of us. He's obviously got a very good, well, lots of licence to get forward, I should say. Saw just how good he was at Brighton at doing that in a very similar system to the one that he's going to be playing here at Chelsea. He's got that defensive responsibility as well, especially today. Going to be up against, we're expecting it's going to be Son on his side. Yep. Really important for him to tuck in and help out Koulibaly.
Yeah, Kulusevski will go on that side as well. He'll spend time out there. So expect to come up against a player with huge technical ability and pace. I have no doubts about this kid. He is top draw. His passing, his technique, his awareness, his understanding. As I made the point earlier, he was probably the best player on the pitch against us in December earlier last season, I should say. So he will be able to deal with that. The one thing he doesn't have, and you can't coach this, is height. So I just wonder about that now. So thinking about him defensively, he'll be now looking to tuck in and be cover on that left-hand side, depending where it's the situation, how it develops. But listen, he's a great acquisition. I'm a huge fan. Brilliant footballer, technically gifted. There aren't too many flaws in his game.
And speaking of which, Harry Kane is one of the players being featured right now on your screens. In terms of stopping Harry Kane, because he does like to drop off, is that easier to do when you're playing in a back three and one can go with him? How would you decide who takes that?
Harry's got so many strings to his bow. He's a brilliant footballer. There's nothing he can't do. He's the complete centre forward for me. Maybe if I was to say he could have a little bit more physicality as a number 9, but that's me picking. He's the complete number 9 for me. He can drop deep, but he can use both feet. There's nothing, he scores every type of goal. Brilliant in the air, technically gifted with his back to goal, can drop deep on the half turn, can spray a pass with left feet. If you stop Harry Kane, and if he's going to play a slightly withdrawn role, but he can do both. So he might play 20 minutes where he stays a bit higher, then all of a sudden he starts to drop. If he does that, you've got the pace and Son to go into those areas. Don't get sucked in, but when he drops, don't let him dictate play in there. Be very aware, communication. Speak to N'Golo, speak to Jorginho. That is, where is Kane? What part of the pitch he's dropping in? Don't be fooled. If he drops deep, don't be fooled that he's out the game. Because he can be just as dangerous in the mid-third to final third as he can in our final third, as he can in their final third. So, look, he's a brilliant player. If you stop Kane, you go a long way to stopping Spurs.
Jason, thank you very much for all of your insight and your opinions as well. Really enjoy working with Jason because you can tell just how passionate he is about his club. We're going to be back just before kick-off to take you through today's big game. That is the end of the warm-up, so thank you again to Trivago, who, wherever we go, they're always with us. And today they have brought us to Stamford Bridge to follow that warm-up ahead of the game against Tottenham. You've heard from Jason, you've heard from myself. We'll be back shortly, but for now, let's hear from Thomas Tuchel.
Thomas, good to see you. What have you had the opportunity to work on since we last spoke at the weekend?
We had some tactical patterns, some tactical issues of our game to get better in, where we worked on yesterday. Today was a bit of drop of intensity because yesterday was a lot. And tomorrow we will focus on our offensive patterns and analyze the defense of Tottenham. So business as usual, but we take advantage of the fact that we have a whole week to prepare, which is hopefully pretty rare.
Absolutely. And another full week with Raheem, Kalidou, Mark and Carney. How well have they adapted to...
And we're still in the situation where we try to install also volume into their legs because they came late and they need to adapt to our principles, of course. And we want to create a certain style of playing, and at the same time we still want to have a bit of more volume in their legs. So it's the challenge to find the balance, but we're on it, and You know, they're top players. They know what they're doing. They know their body, and of course they're one week further, which makes them stronger.
Tottenham at the Bridge this weekend. Always a big fixture, isn't it? How different do you anticipate it will be from maybe some of the games we saw last year?
Not so much different, apart from the fact that they know what they're doing, that they were finished with their transfer window very, very early. The club was stable. The club had a huge success in the end of the year to make it to top 4, secure Champions League football, and from there they took advantage of it and had a very aggressive, very successful transfer period to strengthen their squad. And Antonio Conte is doing what Antonio Conte is doing. He's building a team fighting for every title. That is his DNA, and he will never do something different. So, but it was the same Antonio Conte and at the sideline last season, and we managed to play disciplined, and we managed to play with a lot of awareness and on a very high level of competitiveness, and we managed to beat them 3 times. Like I said, they had a very different, I think, last 6 months compared to us. They took full advantage of it. They look very, very sharp. They look very, very strong. But it's not easy to play against us on Sunday in Stamford Bridge, and we will do everything to keep the 3 points.
Finally then, Thomas, what will it mean to you personally to walk out in front of a packed house at the Bridge to start this season
with
again?
40 degrees. It's the best. I always love to start seasons at home. So this is now a bit of a delay because we started at Goodison and we were lucky enough to get 3 points, well deserved, but it was a hard piece of work. And so even nicer now to come with 3 points. We already have like the first nervous beginnings and the first game out of our legs, and it's a pretty amazing start, I would say, to start in a home match against Tottenham.
It's nice to see that. The manager looks refreshed, he looks composed, he looks more than ready, though, for this an opening day derby, really. The first game at Stamford Bridge of the season against Tottenham.
Yeah, indeed. Look, we faced Everton last week, and I think at the end of the day it was a game where it was the first game of the season, as you could tell. I think a lot of improvements you'd like to think we made, and seeing Cucurella start as well, I think it gives a huge improvement to the side. And overall, it's Tottenham Hotspur at Stamford Bridge. It's a good record for us at Stamford Bridge, and so I'm very excited for what we're going to be watching today.
Absolutely right. We've obviously been out there pitch side for the last half an hour or so, a little bit longer maybe. It is warm. That is something to take into consideration. You know, like Pat already said, the conditions are going to play a massive part in today. We know water breaks are common now, thankfully, during this heat, and obviously 5 substitutions. So that's something to remember as well. Chelsea have got a good squad, but they are going to have to rely on that full squad today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm no professional footballer, but I played football yesterday in the heat, 11-a-side, and it was very, very hot as well. And you need those breaks. And you've got to remember as well, they've just come off of pre-season. They haven't necessarily they're not like 10 games into the season where you've got your full match fitness and you're raring to go, and you're playing games on a Tuesday as well as a weekend and stuff like that. And so I'm pretty sure you'll still see a few players maybe get to maybe 70, 80 minute and need to come off to get to make sure their legs aren't going. But yeah, you also expect as well because it's Spurs to give them that extra. Like for players like Reece James, Mason Mount, for the guys that know what this means, especially, and even for the new boys to get that energy from the crowd and let that take you for those extra 15 minutes. I'm sure we'll be seeing that today for sure.
I know football is full of narratives, and obviously 30th anniversary season, Chelsea and Spurs is a long, rich history between the clubs, but it does feel quite fitting and quite nice. The sun's out, the start of the Todd Boehly era at Stamford Bridge, and the new ownership, the new era of Chelsea Football Club begins today.
Yeah.
What a statement performance and result it would be to start that era if they were to get 3 points against Tottenham Hotspur.
Well, add it as well to a Tottenham Hotspur side that are good, that have one of the best strikers in the world, that have improved as well in the transfer market fantastically well, and have looked good at the beginning of the season. And people spoke a lot of good things about them throughout the season and pre-season. And so if Chelsea get a result today, like is probably expected, to be honest, like they are the favourites, it is their home ground, they have a great record against Spurs at Stamford Bridge, then I think they take that on. It's about momentum as well. Like if you can play Everton and get a result and beat Spurs at home for your second game of the season, that's fantastic momentum to bring on for the rest of the season.
It's one of those as well, isn't it? You know, you can't win the league in August,
of course,
but certainly you can make a statement. And if Chelsea beat Spurs at home today, a Spurs side that scored 4 last weekend and have been improving steadily under Antonio Conte, you send a statement to the sort of league-wide, don't you, really, to say we're ready for this.
Well, talking like on other channels
channels that I've been on before, and I've spoken to other fans, I think a lot of people underestimate Chelsea, and they kind of say that maybe they're going to be the ones battling for top 4. And don't get me wrong, Arsenal, Spurs have improved. They are going to be tough, and I think it's going to be a long race. But they are forgetting that this is a Chelsea Football Club side that won the Champions League 2 seasons ago, and have a very, like, one of the world's best managers, have fantastic players already in that squad. They've got Mason Mount, who every season is just getting better and better. Frightening to think what he could be doing this year if he's getting over 10 goals and 10 assists. And then they're adding Raheem Sterling to that attack. Like, I think this Chelsea side will be okay for sure.
Absolutely right. There you see Raheem Sterling on the front of the Chelsea programme for today. A London derby in the sunshine. South West London is very ready. Stamford Bridge is very ready. And we are not far away now from kicking off our Premier League campaign at the Bridge. Come on, you Blues.